What's going on, OBR subscribers? Whew! What a night. I apologize if I get distracted. So I'm using my phone to record, and the DMs are blowing up, the texts are blowing up, and so if I get distracted, I apologize. But just wanted to kind of process a little bit with all of you, kind of this whole process. So as you know, shortly after after the players started tweeting out some of those excitement and all that, eyeballs and all that crap, I put a report out on the OBR later that evening, about what I was told. So let me just walk you through a little bit of it just to kind of get an understanding of what I have. And again, I didn't have it all right. I get that. But just to kind of get you a feel for where the process was, and where we're going and all that stuff. So before the combine, I was told this. The New York Giants wanted Joel Bitonio, Jabril Peppers, a first and a second. That's kind of the idea of what the trade that they wanted. At that point, I was kind of not thinking that's going to happen. I don't think Bitonio was going to be the guy. And I couldn't get someone, let's just say from the other side or from a third side. So I'll just tell you, normally what we're looking for, or I'm looking for, is Cleveland side, other team side, agent side. So there's three kind of areas where I'm trying to get two pieces of information. And so Bitonio, Peppers, first, second, when you first think about it for Odell Beckham Jr., okay, I get it. And then again, I might actually pull up my Rumor Central post at some point in time, but probably not. I'm just going to go off kind of how the process went in my memory right now. Because it's a long day, right? And that's a lot of excitement, and everybody's kind of dealing with their own way. So, okay, so we go into the combine. At the combine, a lot of things were quiet. What was really interesting about the combine this year is the Browns group was a little secretive. Wasn't as much noise as I expected, but what was interesting for me is after the combine, or after I left the combine, some of the contacts that I had made that some were new, some were getting better from years past, started talking a little bit more. And then I'm getting a feel that Bitonio's off the table. All right, got you. And then so that was good, just developing those relationships. Again, a lot of that's relational stuff. I didn't do anything. My sources did everything to give me information, so it was great. But developing those relationships, and then all of a sudden, eyeball emojis and Dorsey's a genius, great. Hey, has anybody got anything? This is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing this. I heard this before the combine. I didn't hear a lot at the combine. Now where are we at? And that's where I came out with a report, talked to you about the certain players that I was told that were involved in the conversation. That was Bitonio, that was Peppers, that was Emmanuel Agba, that was Derek Kindred, that was a 2020 first or a 2019 second, along with the Patriots third round pick. I think I worded it pretty detailed in there, along with the fact that the Giants had some interest in getting off of some salary. I also talked about Kevin Zeitler because with Bitonio kind of out of the options, Zeitler fit perfectly in as another great guard. So at the time of that post, if I had to make a guess, I would have told you that the Browns would trade Kevin Zeitler, Emmanuel Agba, Derek Kindred, and probably a 2020 first, but the Giants had the opportunity for the 2019 second and the Patriots third round pick. When we got and then all of a sudden the Zeitler-Vernon trade happened, and it felt like there was just something off about that, right? And so what I understand is the Giants and the Browns had kind of the structure of some possible deals in place, and that they were both okay with the Zeitler-Vernon trade, separate or combined. So they made that deal knowing that the Giants honestly were trying to decide the future of their franchise. Were they going to go for it? Okay, now we've got this right guard who's dominant, really good. He can protect Eli. He can run block for Saquon Barkley. We still have Odell Beckham Jr. Where do we want to go as a team? And then you have the Browns saying, hey, we're still here, but we have to make some moves as well, with the reality that John Dorsey would have been okay waiting this out to the NFL draft. He didn't want to do that, and he put some pressure on Dave Gettleman to make some decisions by tomorrow. So when things kind of clicked, everything was in place for the Browns. And so the Giants really, over the last few days, were really struggling with what does that future look like. What I understand is Pat Shurmur really pushed to move on from Odell Beckham Jr. And so when you have the original trade of Zeitler, Agba, Kindred, and then either a 19th or a 21st, now you have some negotiation, right? So they would have rather had Peppers than Kindred and Agba. So that kind of got switched out. And then for the Browns, signing Sheldon Richardson allowed them to be more okay with moving the number 17 pick. This draft is very, very heavy on the defensive line. And so while the Browns weren't forced to or weren't planning on having to use that pick on a 3 technique, what they were probably going to do and most likely going to do is use that pick on a defensive lineman. Because again, you want talent over need, but they looked at the talent in this draft on the defensive line and saw a way to move Agba inside, get a little creative by adding more and more talent to the defensive line. Well, you add Sheldon Richardson, that's no longer a huge need, right? So now the Browns have some flexibility and made the decision to just go for it, right? So instead of moving off of Agba and Kindred, they move off of Peppers. Instead of moving off of this year's second or next year's first, they move off of this year's first. So while that is a jump, and that's pretty significant, right? It's only one round. So from where we thought the trade was going to be to where it currently ended up being a first round pick, number 17, the Patriots' third round pick, and Jabril Peppers, you really got kind of that combination of what the original trade that the Giants wanted, which included Bitonio Peppers, this year's first, and a second or a next year's first, and what the Browns were pushing, which was this year's second or next year's first, Agba, Kindred, and the Pats' third. You really got kind of a combination of those, and everybody is happy. What ended up happening is the Giants kind of shopped that deal around the AFC and couldn't find a fit. And there's a stubbornness and there's an old school mentality to Dave Gettleman that he really didn't want to move him to the NFC. So the Niners are out, the Rams are out, a bunch of other teams are now out. And in the end, guess who really made that decision? Odell Beckham Jr. Because there were 3 teams, from what we understand, on his list, and the Browns were the only one in the AFC. So you shop around and you find out Odell Beckham may not want to come play for any of you. And the Giants don't want to make trades like with the Patriots and Bill Belichick and all of that. And so all of a sudden, you get a deal. And you get a really good deal. Do I hate that the Browns lost Jabril Peppers? Absolutely. Absolutely think Jabril Peppers is a great player. I know some fans don't like him. Whatever. He is a very, very good player, but you can replace a strong safety. We'll see what the Browns do from here. But again, pre-combine, Joel Bitonio, Jabril Peppers, first and a second. Right after the combine, Zeitler, Agba, Kindred, a second or a first and a third to pretty simple. First round pick, number 17. Who knows? The Giants might draft Daniel Jones there. Not a quarterback I would draft in the first 2 rounds of the draft, probably. The Patriots' third round pick, which again is Danny Shelton. And then Jabril Peppers, who was a first round pick, but again, they picked him and put him in at free safety, which was not his natural position, and fit him in as a really good strong safety last year. And someone Steve Wilkes is not going to love losing. We'll see if a free agency move or another trade fills that position in a way that Browns fans start to look at this trade as number 17 and Danny Shelton for Odell Beckham Jr. I will tell you, for me, there is some validation this offseason. While I was not given permission to post it, I communicated clearly with our staff and with some other folks about the Kareem Hunt signing. Obviously, you guys know about the Andrew Berry news that I broke 3 or 5 days early. I forget the number now. And then obviously this. I'm put in a great position. I know some really good people who have shown me around at the NFL Combine. Agents, writers. It just happens. And one of the things that I'll encourage all of you who ever want to be in sports for any reason, be nice to people. Arrogance doesn't pay. It just doesn't. being nice to people, care about people, not using people, but actually just caring about them and getting to know them and spending time with them and seeing what they're interested in and all of that. All that stuff is really, really helpful. People know when you're trying to use them. People know when you're just out for your own gain. And people know when you're an arrogant little jerk who thinks he knows better. And I'm not speaking about anybody in particular, but there is some validation for me. And I'm excited for OBR subscribers that me taking a few days out of my full-time job to hang out at the combine, to be honest, often getting to eat and drink for free and hang out with some really cool people and get some really cool stories. I get to do that. And I get to share that with you guys. And so I don't know what other stories I'll get. I just keep on the grind. I keep texting people. I keep calling people. Actually, I don't call anybody. Forget that. I got phone calls tonight. I don't call anybody. I hate talking on the phone. But I DM with them and I text them. And then I share with you guys as best I can. I can say the same thing for Lane Atkins. That man has spent years and years and years cultivating relationships. And really, it's probably why I'm drawn to a guy like Freddie Kitchens. When you hear him talk, his number one thing is relationships. I hope you guys feel that same level of relationship with us and with each other. Because we've been in it together for a long time, whether that's Browns fans, whether that's OBR subscribers, or whether that's you've been around and just kind of hanging out in the forums. We've been in this together, and it's really nice to turn the corner, right? We had it with the Cavs, and John Dorsey has 2 years to win a Super Bowl. That's his plan. Today is another step in that direction. Thanks for being a part of the OBR. Thanks for being Browns fans. Thanks for following along. And thanks for being in relationship with us. Go Browns.